All right, let's just get right into it. If you're a deep tech founder, you know this feeling. You've poured everything into building something that is truly groundbreaking, a piece of tech that could honestly change the world. But then, when it comes time to get funding, the story just falls flat. What's going on?
This quote right here, it just nails the problem, doesn't it? There's this massive gap between having a brilliant, genuinely superior technology and having a business that investors are actually excited to write a check for. It's a tough reality for so many founders out there.
So if it's not just about the tech, what is it? What's that secret ingredient? You know, the thing that turns a complex scientific breakthrough into a company that can raise the capital it needs to grow. Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but it is incredibly powerful. That's it, positioning. It's not just a buzzword. It's the art of framing your technology in a way that investors don't just understand, but in a way that makes them believe. It is the bridge between your lab and their checkbook. Okay, so let's dig into this deep tech difference. Because in the world of venture capital, the best science, it doesn't always win. You know what gets funded? The stuff that's understood. The clear problem, the clear buyer, and the clear story. What's so interesting about this is the fundamental disconnect it shows us. See, as a founder, you are obsessed with precision, with the technical nitty-gritty, and you should be. But an investor, they need something totally different. They need clarity, because clarity is what builds conviction. Your job isn't to bury them in complexity, it's to give them understanding. And that leads us to a really crucial shift in how you need to think about this. You have to stop selling your tech stack. Stop selling your algorithm or your chemical compound. You have to start selling the future, the possibility that your technology unlocks. At its core, positioning is all about impact. It's not about the how, it's all about the so what. Right? So your new imaging technique is faster. Great. What does that actually mean? Does it save lives in the ER by diagnosing strokes quicker? Does it cut hospital costs in half? That is the story investors will remember. And let's be honest, deep tech has its own set of hurdles. The timelines are long, which makes investors really anxious. You might be creating a market that literally doesn't even exist yet. And often, the person using your product isn't the one who signs the check. Your positioning has to cut through all three of these challenges.
Okay, so knowing the challenges is one thing, but actually overcoming them is another. So now, let's get actionable. We're going to break down exactly how you can build a story that doesn't just explain your tech, but actually gets investors leaning in, excited to learn more.
It really boils down to these three steps. First, you have to anchor everything in a real-world problem that people care about. Second, clearly connect your technical innovation to a real competitive advantage. And third, show them why you and your team are the only people on the planet who can pull this off.
And this right here, this illustrates the single most common mistake. Please do not start your pitch talking about system architecture. At first, nobody cares. Start with the pain. A weak story explains how the tech works. A strong, fundable story explains why it matters.
This is so important, especially in deep tech, where the path is long and uncertain. Investors are betting on the founder. They're betting on you, your story, your personal connection to the problem, why you saw something that everyone else missed. That's an incredibly powerful signal. It builds trust, and it shows you have the grit to see this through to the end.
All right, let's talk about that timeline problem. How in the world do you convince someone to get on board when your product won't be done for years? The trick is to make your progress visible. You have to show that you're not just stuck in a lab somewhere, you are already in motion.
Please remember this. Do not fall into the trap of thinking you have nothing to show until it's perfect and ready for scale. Early-stage investors are not looking for perfection. They're looking for signs of momentum. They need proof that you're moving forward, you're learning, and you're actively de-risking the whole venture.
So, what does that motion actually look like? Well, it could be anything on this list. It could be early test data that proves a key assumption. Maybe it's your first pilot with an industry partner, a provisional patent that shows you're building a defensible moat, even just strong feedback from a potential user. Frame these as what they are, crucial proof points.
Look, your roadmap isn't some vague 10-year vision. It needs to be a series of smart, fundable steps. You're basically telling investors, give us this amount of capital, and with it, we will hit this next, very concrete milestone. This transforms your pitch from a risky leap of faith into a logical, de-risked next step for them to take. Okay, finally, let's talk about the ultimate positioning tool, which is you. In these early stages, when there's very little data, investors are analyzing everything. How you talk, how you prepare, how you behave. These are all powerful signals that shape their perception of you and your company.
At the pre-seed or seed stage, think about it. There's probably no revenue. The product is very early, and the market might be totally unproven. So what are they investing in? They're investing in signals, and the strongest signal in the room is always the founder. Your clarity and professionalism tell them everything they need to know.
And listen, there is a huge difference between being early stage and being amateur. Being early stage is perfectly fine. It just means you're learning and validating. But being amateur, sending sloppy emails, not having a clear ask, being vague about your plan, that destroys confidence instantly. You have to be organized and intentional, even when everything is still uncertain.
This might sound super obvious, but it is so important. Investors are smart, for sure, but they are also incredibly busy. They do not have time to decode your industry jargon. Your job is to make their job easy. Use plain language. Ground your pitch in a simple use case. If they can get the core idea in 30 seconds, they're much more likely to lean in.
Your intellectual property is another really powerful signal. Think about it. Filing for a patent, even just a provisional one, tells an investor three things. First, you're serious about this. It's not just a science experiment. Second, you're thinking strategically about the long term. And third, you're actively building a moat around your business.
So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? It's that your ability to explain something incredibly complex in simple terms is a superpower. It doesn't mean you're dumbing it down. It means you've mastered it so completely that you can make it accessible to anyone. That kind of precision is what builds deep, unshakable trust.
And you know, when you have that clarity, something pretty amazing happens. You walk into meetings with a completely different energy. You're not just hoping they'll understand you, you are confidently guiding them to an inevitable conclusion. That confidence, it is powerful, it is contagious, and honestly, it's what gets deals done. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. The next time you find yourself struggling to explain what you do, just stop and ask yourself, is my work truly too complex for anyone to understand? Or have I just not done the hard work of making the story clear yet? The answer to that question could change absolutely everything.